So a lot of people, when I talk about the subject of Islam, are curious about the historical reliability of the Quran versus the Bible. I think there's really two main areas in which you can kind of compare and contrast these two sources. One would be just looking at the manuscript evidence, and number two would be looking at source criticism. So if we go back and look at manuscript evidence, with the Bible, you've probably heard there are literally tens of thousands of manuscripts that have been made available to scholars all over the world that can investigate, study, do textual criticism on, and see, does the Bible pass these tests of trustworthiness with regards to the transmission of manuscripts and the reliability of the transmission of the content. And the Bible, of course, passes with flying colors. That's amazing. But with the Quran, we don't see that to be the case. Yes, there are manuscripts. We don't see that there are as many, but more significantly is that typically the manuscripts that are available aren't made available to the public, aren't made available to scholars as the biblical manuscripts are made available. And so there is a bit of a secrecy behind what these manuscripts reveal and what they say. Now, there have been some scholars that have done some research and have given some indication that in actuality, the Quran has not been transmitted, perfectly without any corruption. And so that research is still pending because, again, it hasn't been made available. Those manuscripts haven't been made available to the degree that the Bible manuscripts have been made available to, okay? So that's when it comes to the biblical manuscripts or the Quranic manuscripts. But then the question comes, well, what about source criticism? And this is simply the question of asking, what are the sources which the Quran has derived its message, its content, its words from? And when you do this investigation, it's a little bit more easier to do because you can just compare it to other sources in ancient history and see, well, is the Quran pulling from some sources? It turns out the Quran pulls from sources like the Bible, but it also pulls from things like apocryphal gospels, right? Gospels that were written hundreds of years after Christ that claim to be legitimate gospels, but that clearly are not. Okay, so it pulls from apocryphal gospels, it pulls from Jewish folklore, it pulls from Jewish Talmud writing, it even in some instances pulls from Jewish rabbis who are writing commentary on a biblical passage, and the Quran inadvertently takes a commentary written by a Jewish rabbi and incorporates it as a part of the Quran and passes off as divine writ. And so this is a major blow to the credibility of the Quran being a reliable document from Allah, as of course Muslims claim, because it pulls from sources that are known to be not credible, like apocryphal gospels or Jewish folklore or other things like that. And so from that perspective, yeah, the Bible is far more trustworthy and reliable than the Quran.